Welcome back. We're here continuing our talk about the one and only Canadian power trio that is Rush. Last time, just earlier today, we covered all the way up through Roll the Bones. And today we are going to, you can see the list as it exists right now. We have our top-notch category. So just as a review, if you didn't see the first part, it's not an SABCD thing. Top-notch albums that says it all. I consider to be top-notch. I love them to death, love everything about them. Play them a lot, listen to them a lot. Heavy rotation, pretty similar. Not quite top-notch. There's a couple things that keep them off of there, but still, as far as listening to or playing, I definitely enjoy them. Great album. Stuff that, and 2112, I think, when we go through the final list, this might actually end up being more here. Not because it's bad, but because the criteria for some of this was that in 2112, the song is the album, the rest of the album's kind of whatever, and the main song is kind of the thing you come for. But great album, stuff that I don't necessarily always go back to, but I do like. Decent album, has songs that I enjoy here and there, but otherwise, you know. And then, of course, the meh tier, which I don't really go back to either to play or to listen to so much. Maybe a song or two here or there between them, something like that. Eventually, when we get towards the end of these, we're going to reorder, like, you know, from left to right, top to bottom kind of a thing. But here's where we're at now. So we covered the 70s, we covered the 80s, and their last period at the end of the 80s into the 90s, where they were trying to get back their more rock edge. And Roll the Bones was kind of a failure at that. We talked a lot about it, the rap stuff and the song that people didn't like, the whole thing. And their attempt to recapture a lot of that would come the next year in 1992 with the album Counterparts. So let's take a look at Counterparts. So if you're watching the VOD of this on Twitch, the last one we did, it did get muted, but I submit a thing for fair use because I'm talking over wherever the music is on anyway, and we play fucking 30-second clips of it or whatever. So it might be muted temporarily, but I don't think it will stay that way for long. The first one did not. It was unmuted, and I assume this one will probably end up going the same way. So we're not going to spend too much time on the individual songs, listening to them. We will be talking about them. So Counterparts is kind of the beginning of how Rush would sound for the rest of their career, essentially. Except for the last album. The very last album is a little different, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But this was Rush moving into... The guys are into their, 40s now, almost 50s. Getting older, getting wiser, chilling out. Like I said, the progressive part of the music, it's not entirely gone. There's some more complex riffs, some pretty gnarly bass playing, and definitely some pretty intense drumming that goes on here. But the songs, you can look at the length, they're all pretty straightforward. I'm curious what they call, we've looked at that a little bit too, what people call these as far as genres go. Let's see what they, it's 93, not 92, my bad. They call this hard rock, progressive rock, alternative rock. Alternative rock, or, I was calling the last era progressive new wave. I think this is like progressive alt rock, I would suppose you could say. But again, what does progressive mean? Does it mean that the songs are always shifting into new parts and things like that? No, they don't really do that too much here. They have some instrumentals that do that. Are the songs complex, and do they have intertwining bits? Yes. If you want to call that the progressive aspects of it, I think you could. This probably still falls under that banner. As far as the songs and the album itself go, usually how we do this is I've kind of done it both ways, actually. I was going back and watching the original one before I posted the VOD of it to YouTube, and I kind of was all over the place. But we'll pull it here first. I think, for me, Counterparts is probably somewhere between decent album and great album. It'd probably be actually at the end of great album. There's a lot I really like about it, but there's a lot of songs... Whoops, dropped my guitar pick there. There's a lot of songs to me that are kind of just passable and take it or leave it. The first song, Animate, I know Neil Peart has said he likes a lot. He was into, it's a song that I believe is in 5/4, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Is it in 5/4? Let's find out. I think it is. Really? I guess I'm wrong. Man, I swear even he talks about it that way, though. Is this wrong? Is this tab wrong? This is the way I play it. Okay, cool. Thanks for publishing online, Bresky. I'd like to see the actual song, please. Yeah, whatever. I swear to God, even Neil has said it was in 5/4, but maybe I'm not great on the music theory and the counting and the whatever. I learn most of my playing just by playing for years and years and researching every once in a while here and there, but I'm not a big in-depth... No, I don't have a big in-depth knowledge of a lot of that stuff, so whatever. Animate's a good song. We play it a little bit. Nice driving, carrying it forward a little bit. Just a little bit. Yes. But we're back in full rock mode. So in case you did not watch the last episode, and I don't know how you'd watch this one without watching that last part, I said episode, we're coming from, you know, let's fucking go back to Roll the Bones, and we're coming from this. So not very much the same at all. Big shift. I think this album is pretty well liked by most people. Let's see. Most unique. Who's Odyssey? Who cares? Let's find out. Rolling Stone, 4 stars, B-, 2 out of 5. All Music, 4.5, 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, so Animate's a great song. I think Stick It Out has a cool riff. It gets a little repetitive. Cut to the chase. So this one is why I say I think it rides the line of it's probably more in decent album territories, because for the songs that I really like Animate. I really like Alien Shore. I really like Cold Fire. I actually love it. I don't know why that's not one of my favorites. I really like this song. The rest of it is kind of just passable to me. Counterparts is a lot more songs about relationship type stuff. Literally, part and counterparts, that's the theme. Things that fit together, racial relationships, gender relationships, actual love relationships, that's kind of the whole deal. Alien Shore is about that. Cold Fire is about that. Animate is about that. The only songs I would say that are kind of outright bad, I think Nobody's Hero. I think people like this song. I don't. I think it definitely leans into some of the worst of Neil's instincts to be a little bit cheesy and a little bit overly sentimental about, you know, oh, this gay person he knew who died. He introduced me to the world and opened my eyes, and he's nobody's hero, but he's, you know, somebody's hero. Or this other girl I knew who died, something. Now, granted, it's been a long time since I've heard some of these songs, and you'll see that the first video was 2 hours to talk about just up to this point, and most of that was spent between, you know, moving picture. I mean, most of it was probably spent, over half of it was probably spent on Signals, Power Windows, and Grace Under Pressure. This is not going to go like that so much. There's some stuff I'm really going to do a deep dive into, but most of these songs that are not the ones that really stick out to me are kind of just passable songs to me. So it's a decent album, meaning that the 2 songs or few songs that I really like. The rest I could kind of take it or leave it. Cold Fire has a great guitar solo that we're going to listen to, and also picks up a little bit more of that, how I talked about in the last album, that Rush occasionally has this, like, country twang almost type of thing that they do sometimes. And we can listen to that here. This is a great song, though, and the drums are fucking nuts, and we're going to listen to a few chunks of the song. Let's check this out. Just ba 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 na 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 na. And then, I don't know, country's maybe not. Like I said last time, country's not the right thing to say, but it's not too far from there. Let's talk about the solo for this song. Hold on. The chorus is... Oh, let's go to a different song. The chorus is great, too. And the bridge... Not the bridge, I guess. I think it's part... You call it the bridge. The drums are nuts. We're going to listen to those parts. So... Right there. So, let's key into the drums here. So, we haven't done too deep specifically on Neil and his technique when it comes to his drumming. Because like I said, eventually we're going to do one of these for each member of the band. Go through and talk about what makes them so special, their best stuff, all that. But the man's cymbal work is fucking nuts. I mean, just... It's always top-notch. And I think this is... I mean, there's tons and tons of great examples. But even for getting into the mid-90s, he's nailing it here. Let's listen to just a little bit of this. And I want to listen to the solo of this song, too, and then we'll move on. Turn this up a little bit. Listen to those drums. Good shit, right? Now, solo part. Where is that? Right here. So again, not to put too fine a point on it because we talked about it a lot. We're going to talk about it more, I'm sure. But emotion plus speed. The guy knows how to make it work. For a latter era, I mean, this is still fucking 10 years before they would, 20 years before they would end the band. This is kind of middle era Rush, I guess. But to me, and I think to a lot of people, this is the beginning of the latter time. But regardless, for latter era solo work, very good stuff. But yeah, the rest of it, Alien Shore, like I said, is a pretty good song. Has a good riff and a nice bass line to it. Kind of has a more spoken word singing style over it a little bit. It's kind of a cool song.
Strangers by one chromosome, slave to the hormone, body and soul.
Anyway, this type of song is actually pretty indicative of kind of what a lot of their music will sort of start to sound like as we go forward. Maybe not a lot of it, but a good amount of it. So yeah, I would say decent album, 2 or 3 really good songs. The rest is kind of passable to me. What's next? Test for Echo. When I did, so to give you a hit from the top about kind of how I feel about this album, when I did the test version of this video, I did the whole thing at once yesterday just to see how this kind of format would work for doing something like this. I did not remember what this album was called just looking at the fucking little picture down here. So that's about how I am with this album in general. It's probably one of the only, it's only one of 2 that I haven't, I don't know if I've actually, let's look at the song list. I don't know if I've even listened all the way through to all of these songs. This and one we're going to talk about a little bit later are like that for me, that when I heard them at first, I really was not into them and I just moved on because there was so much. I think I mentioned this in the last video that when I was getting into Rush, and I guess we can talk about this soon, it was before their last album could come out. So everything up to Snakes and Arrows was the current album when I first started listening to them. So when I was getting to this point in their music, when there was stuff that I wasn't super into, I kind of just moved on. There was literally 100 other songs I could listen to. So you could argue that some of the stuff on this one, and I mean, I guess I say now, Snakes and Arrows is the other one that I don't really like. These 2, you could argue that I maybe have not given them quite a fair shake, because I did actually go back yesterday after I did this and listen to some more of the songs on Snakes and Arrows, and I have a little bit of a different opinion about that we can talk about when we get there. But yeah, just not really hitting for me. I would say, let's see, Test for Echo I like. Driven I think is a great song. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if it's quite meh, because I do it just in terms of our thing, like, do I go back and listen or play the songs? Driven is a song that I definitely play. It's a nice little, I mean, it's a really straightforward song on both the bass and the guitar, but this is when Neil, I mean, we don't need to dive too deep into the story, because I would assume if you're this far into this shit, you know at least a little bit about this band, but he famously was kind of getting sick of, he felt that he had hit a wall in his drumming, which is nuts, because if you don't know anything about him, I mean, you can just look up, like, greatest drummers of all time. The dude's name is always going to usually pop up on that list when you search for it. Right there. For somebody like him, who is now, is 94, 95, when he was kind of getting to that, clicking on much shit here, is in his 40s, to say, you know, I like where I'm at, but I could be better. And to seek out somebody who's Freddie Gruber, who's a jazz guy. I don't know too much about that jazz big band. Neil was a big fan, Buddy Rich, all that. I like it. I don't listen to it that often enough to know the players and stuff like that. I just realized this was open the entire goddamn time. Whatever. It happens. It happens. Turns out I'm a virtual model with options that you can set. How long have we been going for? Like 20 minutes or something? 15, 20 minutes? Whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? Who cares? Shit, what was I saying here? Test for Echo, so-and-so. Man, I totally lost my train of thought when I saw that. Oh, yeah, Freddie Gruber. So, he switched up his drumming. He played traditional grip with his left hand. And you can definitely hear it a little bit in the music that goes forward, because he doesn't actually do it in everything going forward. But Driven is the song that you can, like, if you watch, we can watch a little bit of the music video and look at Rush in their nicest 1996 slash. But the dude switched to traditional grip. That's what we're getting at, and changed up his style. Some of it's pretty good. Let's talk about these. So, like I said, the actual song Test for Echo is kind of a cool song. It's like, was the one we talked about in the last album, where it's a little bit more spoken word, like Alien Shore. It's a little bit more, not so much singing. They're singing in it, but it's kind of about the state of the world. I think it had a lot to do with, like, just watching news through TV, idiot box kind of a thing. Let me actually look at the lyrics for this real quick, because I have not heard this song in actually quite a long time. I remember the basic, you know, here we go, vertigo, test for echo. Some kind of trouble on the sensory screen, camera curves on caved-in cop cars, bleacher creatures, would-be desperados, clutch at plausible deniability. Yeah, I think this is about the LA riots, probably a little bit about the OJ trial and just the media sensation of it all. It's cool concept. There's some cool parts to it. It's very, like, post-grunge sounding, like, not post-grunge, because that almost gets into, like, Foo Fighters and shit like that. Definitely not like that. Alternative rock, Tool, very Tool light, Tool very light sounding. But I don't know, that's actually probably a bad description too, but we heard it from the song. It's that style. Half the World is kind of a cheesy song. It's fine. These were when Neil's, this album especially, I think, is kind of Neil doing his messages a little cheesy. Time and Motion's fine. Totem is kind of Dog Years is one of those we talked about earlier in the last part when I talked about what was it? The Trees, and how there's some songs where the lyrics are just kind of dumb for the sake of, you've written 100 songs at this point. You're looking for new things to write about. Make a song about, in this case, what it's like to look through the eyes of a dog, to live like a dog. Sometimes it works. Like, The Body Electric, the song about the fucking sentient robot, is a cool song. In this case, it does not work. It's a pretty fucking stupid song, and it uses the word bitch in reference to a dog in the song, which is obviously, that's how they're referred to, but it's so weird to hear it that way. It's just dumb. It doesn't work at all. Virtuality is another song that people really don't like so much that, oh, actually, I forgot Resist was here. The song I was playing right at the top of the thing, poorly because I fucked up the timing on the beginning, and that song's a full step down, but, you know. That bit is a very, very beautiful song. We'll get there, though. But Virtuality is a song that a lot of people do not like. And this is one of the times when it comes to the cheesy lyric stuff that I will say really has to do with of its time. So the riff is cool. Let's listen to the song a little bit. It's very, like I said, alternative hard rock kind of a thing. It's pretty much in a similar vein of where a lot of Rush would go from here on to the end of their career. Kind of cool sounding, but then you dig into the lyrics where it starts talking about, so this is 1996 and Neil has essentially gotten himself tuned into the internet for the first time. Like a lot of, I mean, he was ahead of the curve on that. A lot of people were still not quite tuned in even then as far as mass popularity stuff goes. So this is a song about that, about people connecting through the internet when at a time when people didn't really still understand. I mean, they knew what the internet was, that it connected people, but not really how it worked. And so the metaphors are a little weird, clunky, like, you know, net boy, net girl, send your impulse around the world, put your meshes in a modem and throw it into the cyber sea. It's pretty fucking stupid. In retrospect, 30 years later, almost 28 years later, I'm curious how it came across then. I don't think people particularly like this album. Let's take a look, actually. I don't really know. This is probably the one that of the newer stuff, post the first couple albums, that I know the least about, or listen to the least. This and Snakes and Arrows. Let's see, what do people say about this? You have a 3 out of 5 rating, rarely played better in the past 10 years than they have for Test for Echo. That's a complete false statement. That's nuts. The past 10 years, so from 86 to them, then rarely did they play better. That's a fucking piss take and a half. 3 out of 5 stars, Rolling Stone, B on Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, I mean, what did they call this one? Just hard rock is the genre. They've abandoned the progressive for this. How well did it sell? It was number 5 on the Billboard charts, huh? That is actually pretty goddamn surprising to me. We're going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. So when I was talking earlier, I was definitely wrong about, this was number 2 at the fucking, on the Billboard? About them, so the sales definitely did not add up to the level of Moving Pictures. Moving Pictures is number 3, and that was a big deal. This got even higher. Really? Roll the Bones, we learned when we read the review, was not. No, Roll the Bones got to number 3 too, man. What the fuck was going on that week in 1993 where that was the 3rd most popular? Yeah, this is more, this like 16, 18 that Presto got, this is more what I was thinking the other albums were going to get to, but I guess they were actually a lot more popular. I did not realize that. I mean, I was a little kid when, Roll the Bones especially, and Counterparts and shit were out, but that's a little surprising to me. Anyway, yeah, as far as like playing these songs, Resist is the only song I actually know how to play. I guess Driven I know how to play, but it's literally just the riff is, you know, I think it might be in drop D, but it's, you know, it's pretty straightforward. Resist is a really beautiful song about acceptance. That they play a really, I want to listen to a specific version of it. And actually, we could probably watch the video for that. Rush in Rio. Resist. They play an acoustic version of this. I don't know how often they did it, but I know that this is a very famous... I'm pretty sure it's from Russian Rio, right? A very famous version of it. The version that I played, you heard me playing earlier, is not going to sound quite the same. They are tuned, I think, a whole step down. Pretty sure they're in C. Or are they just in drop D? Oh, that's not right. It's definitely not in standard tuning. Whoever made that tab was wrong. D, G, C, F, A, D. Yeah. They're in D standard tuning for this song, not C. Really beautiful guitar work. The message in some of the lyrics... I mean, the lyrics are great, as always, but... Well, not as always. We just talked about fucking writing a song about dogs and net boy, net girl. Send your message into the fucking... into the modem, into the digital sea or whatever, but... For all... Let me dial back on that. Because for all the shit that he gets for some of the lyrics, the dude wrote... Just in songs. We're not talking about in words. When we talk about Neil Peart a little bit later, and actually when we get into the next album... Not about philosophy, not about his actual writing, but just in songwriting. He wrote way more profound lines than stupid, cheesy lines. I mean, 20 to 1, 50 to 1, fucking probably even higher than that. But, unfortunately, that makes the times when it is a big fucking gutter ball, you know, a swing and a miss, whatever you want to call it, they do stand out a little bit more. The Taishans and the dog ears and whatever. And the roll the bones rap, all that stuff. It does stand out a little bit more. It is what it is. But let's listen to a little bit to this song, and I want to talk about a couple of the lines here. This is such a beautiful song. I keep pausing it, I know, it's the ADD brain, whatever, but this song, I wonder, after some of the stuff that happened that we're going to talk about, after some of the stuff that happened very soon after he wrote this song in his life, if he looked back on this, because he quotes it, I think, in Ghost Rider in the book, or maybe in the one where he's cycling across Africa, but he talks about this song later, and I'm curious how it hit him the first time after all the shit that went down, you know, listening to it. But let's listen to it a little bit. So they're both playing guitars. Geddy plays the background, Alex plays the leads. I guess that's not true. Alex is playing the main part and Geddy's accenting. Yeah, listen to the whole song on your own time. It's a great song, but I want to talk about this stanza, this set of lines towards the end that speak to a lot of people, certainly speak to me, but the whole thing is about acceptance, right? And this, you know, you can surrender without a prayer, but never really pray without surrender. You can fight without ever winning, but never win without a fight. Take it to heart. Seriously. It's good shit. What else do we got on Test for Echo? I think that's about... Yeah, Limbo is... What is Limbo? We learned earlier in the last one that was one of the songs that was written by somebody else. I don't know if I even remember the song. Oh, this song is an instrumental, right? There might be a couple words here and there. It's fine. But yeah, this definitely sits in that not quite meh, because I really love Resist. And Driven's a pretty good song too, but it's right in that line. Everything else on there definitely belongs in this category. But Resist is a good enough song on its own. Even that version, not just the Rio live version. Actually, should have put that on here. We didn't do any of the live albums. We did do the cover album, but yeah, that's kind of where that goes for me. All right, so moving on, we got to talk about Neil's personal life and what happened next. So let's pull up Vapor Trails really quick. So that last album was released in '96. They go on tour. Rush has always been, even when they're, I guess that was number 2 or whatever, 2 or 3, but they were always a big deal on tour since the late 70s and just got bigger and bigger. So it was always a thing. He comes back. His daughter is going to college. He sends her off. She's 19 years old, and she dies in a car accident on the way there. He resigns from the band basically I think it was either that day or maybe at her funeral. He said essentially, consider me retired. I'm done. And even so, he had talked about, he was kind of over touring by this point, even without the tragedy and all that. I talked about it a little bit in the last video when we talked about Limelight and how he was this really private person and was not into the adoration, adulation, and all that, and playing drums and riding motorcycles everywhere. Well, it's more playing drums than anything, but he was getting into his late 40s and was just kind of sore and tired. But this really sealed the deal for him at that time. So he tells Alex and Geddy he's done. They, of course, they completely understand, and they don't make music for a while. Unfortunately, it gets worse for Neil. He decides his wife is overcome with grief. I mean, he is too, but his wife is literally inconsolable, Jackie. And so they leave. They leave Canada. They go to London to try and escape. She won't get out of bed. She's heavily depressed. And then she gets cancer. Terminal cancer, which he had said after that at some point that essentially she willed herself that sickness and her death. When they lost their daughter, she died with her. So within the span of about 1.5 years, I think, maybe even less, he lost his only child at that time and his wife. He was devastated. Absolutely devastated. I mean, a lot of people are lucky if they grow up and live to adulthood, at least, especially. But into your 40s, I guess I'm not there yet, but when you're that old, to not have lost anyone important to you, maybe by the time you're getting to your 40s, maybe your parents. Some people experience a lot earlier. I did. A lot of other people do. But until it's happened to you, until you've lost especially someone in your immediate family, parents, kids, siblings, siblings, brothers, sisters, you don't really know. I can't imagine a kid, but you don't know the type of grief. And having the double whammy of his whole fucking family blowing up, I don't know if I could have come back from it. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't. He bailed on his situation there. He got on his motorcycle. He spent the next 2 years or so just riding. He rode from Toronto all the way up to Alaska, all the way up to the Arctic Circle, down. He rode through pretty much all of the United States. He rode through all of Mexico. He went down to Central America. 20, 30, 40,000 miles, something. He would eventually write a book about it, which is called, and I think, because I had it years ago, and then when I moved back from China, when I was teaching over there, I bought it again, and when I got it then, I think I had to get a special version, because it might be out of print now, but let's look. Ghost Rider Travels on the Healing Road. If you can buy this book somewhere, please do. If you have dealt with grief or dealing with grief and don't know how to put yourself in perspective with the universe, the world around you, whatever you want to call it, this book does that. I don't know. I can't speak its praises highly enough. If that is something... Sorry, getting a text there for just a second. If that is something... Hold on, just one sec. Okay, apologies. If that is something you're struggling with, know someone who's struggling with, or just want a perspective on how you find perspective after going through extreme loss, this book is a great help. And a lot of the stuff that he said, I don't want to get into it here because we're going to do, like I said, we're going to do a whole stream on this guy at some point. But buy the book if you can. Actually, it looks like you can get the audiobook if you have Audible, which I bet also means... I wonder if he... You can probably get it on Spotify. I wonder if he... Oh, what is this? Oh, this is just a playlist. Maybe it's not on Spotify. Audiobooks. It's not on Spotify. Well, that's too bad. But listen to it, read it. If he narrated it, definitely listen to it at the very least. But yeah, 2 years... And finally, he kind of... I think... I'm trying to remember, because it's been a while. I read Geddy Lee's book when it first came out, and he talked about it then, and Neil has talked about it a couple times, but he had just had so much built up in him of all of it that he was ready to get it out through music again. The album that... So they started work in, I want to say 2001, probably. Maybe early 2002. The album that came from that is Vapor Trails. 2013 Remix is probably the main one you're going to find on Spotify, and we're going to talk about why in just a second. But this album, to me, falls probably somewhere between here and here. Not quite heavy rotation, although I guess kind of like we talked about with Hold Your Fire when it comes to playing songs, or was it Hold Your Fire or was it Permanent Waves? I definitely play a lot of these songs, especially on the bass still, but I would say it probably fits more like here to me for a few reasons, and we're going to talk about it. It has more than, unlike something like any of these albums, it's not just like one song or two songs are good and the rest are whatever. I think the good songs that I like are great, and the rest of that's kind of whatever is still pretty good too. So, the problem that this album had, it came out, if you know anything about recent music history, you may have heard of something called the Loudness Wars. And what that was, so I'm not an expert on this stuff, and most of this happened when I was a teenager and whatever. So I didn't know too much about it then, only that I heard about it retroactively, like in reviews and stuff. Why does this sound like shit? Most famously, and actually the example we're going to use, we're going to look at a video in a second, is not from Rush. It's from Metallica's album Death Magnetic, but they do the same shit, and it sounds terrible. But basically, they wanted a way to make... Let's look this up really quick. They wanted a way... So, Metallica Loudness Wars. Let's just look up the Death Magnetic. This is what I was looking at yesterday. You can actually see it. You can literally see it in the waveforms. They're trying to make the music just more, bigger, louder, whatever. And how they did that, whatever genius, whoever fucking fool came up with the idea of let's just blast the waveforms all the way up and then compress it down to make it to make it fit. It sounds shitty. It sounds terrible. So, this GH is, I'm pretty sure, the Guitar Hero tracks that were on these songs, but if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to waveforms and all this, just watch here. The spikes, the levels, the audio levels of the different tracks coming through. You can see them popping up all over the place. When you look at the album version, look at the size difference, first of all. The lines themselves, they're all, the actual waves, are all louder, they're all up here, but to do that and not have it blow out, it had to be compressed way fucking down, and it sounds garbage. Let's listen to this just a little bit. Uncompressed. It sounds bad. And this album, unfortunately, is one of the ones that suffered from that as well. It doesn't sound quite as bad as some of the Death Magnetic stuff. And I think they have also since remastered that album as well, which is good if they have. I hope they have, because some of the songs on that are really great. But man, if you're listening to it through a good sound system, it kind of sounds like shit. It sounds like something's wrong with your system, like it's blown out. This album got that treatment too. It's not quite as bad, like I said, but it's definitely there. Now, this remix of it is great. Gets rid of a lot of it. Let's talk about song for song. So, some of the songs are definitely about grief and how you deal with it. Specifically, I mean, Secret Touch, Vapor Trail's kind of like that too, but really the song Ghost Rider, which is what the book is about, has one of my favorite kind of understated bass parts by Getty. And we'll listen. I don't know if it comes through so well if you're not listening to it on headphones, especially on the older. I haven't listened to a 2013 mix as much of these songs, but on the older blown out one, it does not come through. But let's play this just a little bit.
Pack up all those phantoms, shouldered and invisible.
And I think, again, as Getty aged, his voice definitely fits with the music, even more so. But yeah, that bass, just, you know. The guitar starts in, you know. And then you get the... It's a good song. It's a beautiful song about what the book is about finding yourself, you know, troubles on the road up behind and troubles on the road ahead, but nothing can stop you now. Vapor Trail, let's see, Peaceful Kingdoms and Anti-War. It's kind of like a 9/11 song, well, a post-9/11 Iraq, whatever you want to call it, Afghanistan war song. It's kind of about 9/11 too. The Stars Look Down is fine. How It Is okay. Vapor Trail, I really love this song. We can listen to it a little bit. A good example of more of just how this modern sound that they have continue to develop. Let's take a listen a little bit. A nice build-up, too, of how they layer stuff, I think, in this song. And a little bit more, he kind of brings into this song as well, a little bit more singing in the verses and then singing in the chorus, like we've seen on some of the other stuff that started kind of in the early 90s.
Stratospheric traces of a transitory flight.
One thing you won't hear on any of these, well, let's go through the rest of these first, and then I'll get there, but Secret Touch is a great song, also that I think has a lot of elements that I really like on this album, and some of the stuff I like on Snakes and Arrows, and a lot of the stuff I like on Clockwork Angels is this idea of they didn't really do it before so much, where they build layers upon layers to make things more complex and stuff like that. They did it a little bit in the 80s, but it was kind of, all of that was left to synths, and it was much more bigger and atmospheric. I don't know, that's maybe sounds dumb, but if you listen to it enough, maybe you'll see what I'm saying. But let's listen to Secret Touch is another great song. Great lyrics to this too. The way out is the way in. A gentle hand, secret touch in the heart. Yeah, this is, I don't know, I guess Neil's song about, I don't know if he wrote it that way, but it is the Buddhist philosophy, 100%.
The way out is the way in. The way out is the way in. The way out is the way in.
But yeah, great song. Earthshine's pretty good. Sweet Miracles, yeah, the rest of it's kind of just, they're a lot of pretty good songs, but one thing you will notice, which is pretty nuts when you look at some of the length of some of these, like, even this song, Secret Touch, is 6 minutes and 34 seconds. What there aren't any of in this. Speaking of also, we go back to the Metallica comparison, but they're a band that I just also happen to know a lot about, and so it's easy, and they did similar things, and even Geddy Lee produced a couple of their early albums. Fun fact. Or was at least involved with them in some way. But Another trend during the same time of this loudness wars shit that shows up when we're talking about Metallica in Saint Anger, among the myriad of issues that that album has. And just as a quick side note, it's funny to me how people have come around on that album and saying, oh, it's not really bad and all this. The snare sound, I actually think it's kind of cool, but that album is definitely, it's Metallica goes nu metal, and it sucks. It's not good. Sweet Amber's an okay song with a couple okay riffs. The Drop C stuff is fine. It's not good. It's not a good, it's a terrible Metallica album. It's a barely passable, at best, like 4.5 out of 10 nu metal album. It's bad. It's weird to me that the retrospective look, and it should have been bad. Watch fucking Some Kind of Monster. That's, when you have that situation of people, that's the album you get. And it sounds like it. It's a cool time capsule. It sucks, though. Regardless of that, another trend, and they talk about it in that movie, and it happens with that album, which is even more glaring there than it is here, I think. Although it's pretty glaring here, is that because of nu metal, I don't want to talk too much about side stuff that I don't know that enough about that people could definitely call me out, but whatever. Fuck you if you want to call it out. It's all opinion stuff anyway. I'm entitled to it just like you are, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, nu metal, that style of music, isn't super heavy on musicianship. That sounds like a really mean way to say that. I don't mean it, because I like some of that music. Like, I like some Slipknot, some of their early work. I like some of Korn's early work. I like some Mudvayne's early work, but Mudvayne's a little bit different. The bass is always going hard as fuck in those songs. And Slipknot has some songs where at least the drums, if not the drums, the guitar, they were definitely a little bit more on the tech side of that. But for every Slipknot and early Korn, there's fucking Soul Chamber or that fucking You're My Butterfly, Sugar Baby, that type of shit. What did I forget the name of that band? Crazy Town. There's that type of shit. That's nu metal. That's what most, if you're looking back on it like you're going to Sick New World and you're looking back on the past, and oh, this music all kicks ass. I wonder why everybody shit on it so much. That's the music. The bands that are around today is the the cream of the crop that people liked. Most of that shit was Crazy Town, that type of music. It sucked. It's bad. Anyway, whatever. People are entitled to like whatever and fine, but anyway, no guitar solos there, no guitar solos here. It was just not a cool thing. They were not particularly proficient in there, and it wasn't considered important. It's definitely missing here, but the songs aren't, dead in the water. Dead in the water without them. They're fine. Some of them are very good. But how you get to 6.5 minutes without any type of solo work from the bass or the guitar or anything going on without getting repetitive is a little questionable. All right. We are down to the last three, and really only the last two. I'm just going to put this here very fast. In 2004, Rush did a series of covers in an album called Feedback. It's bad. Even if you like these songs, they're missing some on here, I feel like. They're just 60s songs that they grew up with, covering the stuff that they were influenced by. Like The Seeker is fine. It's a fine cover, but it's pretty much, the problem that I have with this, and why I would say you can literally skip on any one of these songs, is that the covers are literally just the covers. There's no Rush. It's not like, this is Rush's take on this band, on the fucking Went Down to the Crossroads or like Summertime Blues. It's more just, here's that song as performed note for note by Alex, Geddy, and Neil. They don't have their own personal touch to any of it, probably because they wanted to pay homage to the actual stuff. If you really like those songs, like For What It's Worth, the Buffalo Springfield song is a great song. Listen to the original. I mean, they're better versions of them. Every one of these, the original version, I've never heard 7 and 7 Is or Mr. Soul, but I know all of the other songs. Heartful of Soul, actually, maybe I don't know that song. But I know all the other ones. But regardless, the originals are better. Just listen to those. I'm not even sure why they did this, unless it was just to make some money, because why not? Because it had been years. Vapor Trails, I'm pretty sure people like that album. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say on that subject. They call it hard rock, progressive rock. The progressive stuff, I would say, again, is not really here. Some of it is in it, but Let's see. The production of Vapor Trails has been criticized by the band themselves. Critics and fan alike because the album's loud sound quality. We already talked about this. It has overly compressed audio levels. That's not what I want to talk about, though. This doesn't really talk about how people actually felt. I guess we can look over here. 3 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 9 out of 10, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Yeah, I think people liked it enough. I think it's good. Talking about Vapor Trails, not talking about fucking feedback. Feedback is dumb. I can't imagine anybody got anything out of that. Let's see actually what it says here. I'm a little curious. And like I said, they have a ton of live albums. We didn't cover any of those. Really, All Music 4 out of 5, Encyclopedia Pop Music a 2 out of 5, 4 out of 5, Stylus Magazine F, USA Today. I don't know. It's just, again, if you like those songs, just go and listen to the original versions. You're not getting anything out of it other than a little bit of novelty by having it be the Rush versions. Okay, Snakes and Arrows. When I first did this yesterday, the test version of this song was, I had said, rode the line between decent album and meh, and probably closer to meh, whereas I never come back to any of it. I think I've changed a little bit about, like I said, I went through and I listened to some of that again, and I think I have definitely changed my opinion a little bit, but not much. I still have the same kind of complaints, and we'll talk about them. So, Snakes and Arrows is 2007, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5 years later. This is their penultimate album. It starts off great with the song Far Cry, which is, again, still in that vein of just hard alternative rock or hard progressive rock, kind of like what I said they've turned into. Since Counterparts, it has kind of evolved into the sound. We can listen to it a little bit here. Lyrics in this song are very good. The chorus, this is another song about, I guess, getting old, specifically this, and how you pass down things from generation to generation. Like he says, it's a far cry from the world we thought we'd inherit, and it's a far cry from the way we thought we'd share it. And the chorus is great lyrics. He's like, sometimes I feel I'm, like you just listen to it, I'm on top of the wheel, the next it's rolling over me. But the line, I can get back on. Listen to that real quick. So at this point, too, sorry to keep pausing it, Geddy's voice is definitely aging. But, because he was born in 53, 16, 2003. He's in his mid-50s at this point. And he's been singing high-pitched, not so much high-pitched in the last couple decades, but he's been up there for years and years and years, for 32 years, 33 years at this point. And his voice is definitely starting to show its age. He does it, the music is pretty gracefully fit into it. I'm curious, actually, because I don't know, because when I played this song, hold on a second, do they tune down for this album and the last two? I know they don't. Clockwork Angels is not tuned down, but there's a couple drop D songs, but no, they're just in standard. They didn't go that low to the point where they had to change tuning to adjust to Geddy's voice, but he definitely was getting a little bit on the older side. So I think, though, it fits with what they're doing here. We can go back and kind of listen to this just a little bit here. I'll tell you about it. But yeah, and listen to the chorus just a little bit. I don't want to play these too long at once. I'm going to get hit with another, excuse me, mute situation. This bit, of course, good lyrics. Like, you can definitely hear it. Like, I think he's a good singer in this stuff too, and he adjusts that. Not like a whine, but like, I can get back on. He kind of leans into those a little bit more. I cannot sing like him, but you know, you can kind of hear it a little bit.
I can get back on. One day I feel like I had a week, and the next it's rolling over me. I can get back on.
But yeah, this song's really good. It kind of takes a dip there for me after this. Armor and Sword is fine. To me, a lot of these songs kind of blend in. There's fucking 3 instrumental tracks on this, which is nuts. It really does feel like there's no reason that this should be 13 songs. The Main Monkey Business, which one is this? I even get these. One of them is actually pretty good, and the other 2 are just kind of passable. What is this one? Yeah, I like this one, but even it starts to kind of wrap into itself a little too much as it goes on. Solos are back-ish, here and there. Not a lot of shredding going on. It's just a lot of kind of the same. This, to me, is... Man, and now it's funny. I listened to it, changed my mind now, talking about it. It's not meh. But it's pretty goddamn close. I really like Far Cry. I like this song. I like... which one was it? Hold on, let me listen to this for a second here. It was not that one. There's one of the other ones, but it's just, to me, not bad. Again, just not really my thing. I'm curious what they said genre-wise this was. Progressive rock, hard rock. I feel like this actually maybe have debuted. I remember hearing this actually debut pretty high. Hold on. Yeah, it hit number 1. And it was maybe, top hard rock albums. Billboard, it was number 3. So, it was actually a pretty big, people seem to like it. 7.5 out of 10, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5. I don't think it's bad enough to put the meh on it, but it does seem like it was the first time, and I mean, there's only one other album, and the next album is not the case, but I guess so you could say it was the only time, to me, this and the last album, not the last album, but this and Test for Echo, where they kind of just sounded like they were running out of ideas a little bit. Don't hate it. Don't particularly love it. Definitely, you know what? Yeah, I would actually probably put it in here. We'll go through and read. We'll do for the final. We'll put it in the proper order, but it still is pretty meh to me. It's not as bad as the first 2 albums or the cover album. The cover album's definitely the worst. That's not going to move position at all. But it just doesn't resonate with me really at all. None of it. Far Cry's a really good song. I like that song a lot. Actually, you know what? We said if at least it has one good song, it would be on the decent album in the first part. So it has 1 very good song and 2 okay songs. The rest of it are just, they're not bad. It's not like Taishan or whatever where it's cheesy and shitty and whatever. They're just kind of passable, whatever. You know, it existed. And now for the final. 2 hours plus however long this has been. We reached 2012. They had a lot of concept songs that went on for a while, but only 1 full concept album, and that was Clockwork Angels. This album, to me, so I don't know if you watch the what's it called? I think it might just be called Time Stands Still. The video they did about the 40th anniversary tour and the band breaking, the retirement of the band and all that. I don't know if they say it there. It's been a while since I've seen that. But I'm curious to know if going into this process, if Neil was, if he'd made up his mind then that this would be the last album that he was going to make, or at least with Rush. I mean, not just Rush. He was done. When he was done playing the drums, even before he got sick, he was done with it. So by this point, Neil has moved to California. He's not in Canada anymore. He has met somebody and remarried and has, at probably just like either. I wouldn't need to look it up. Who cares? But he had a new child, another daughter, who was either very like literal baby status here, or maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 years old at most when this album was coming out. And he talks about it in the Time Stand Still documentary. Essentially, he was over it. He was over it. And he wanted to spend time. He had lost his fucking daughter. He had lost his wife. He had a new one for each. And he wanted to spend time with them. So he made this whole thing as a concept album, telling the story of this alternate world, kind of a steampunk thing. As a concept, it's kind of okay. The individual songs, some of them are really good. But the one I want to talk about the most is the last one, The Garden. We're going to listen to a little bit of this real quick. So, this song to me is Neil Peart's message to the world. What he'd learned, before it gets started, what he learned in his life. I joked about this when we did the original version of this yesterday, about how there's this fucking stupid, I think it's pretty funny, but it's whatever. There's a movie that came out in 2007, Dewey Cox, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. It's like a parody of fucking musical biopics, but the bit in that movie is this guy spent the last 20 years, 30 years of his life trying to write this masterpiece song that would be the fucking pinnacle of his career or whatever. And I think Neil Peart legitimately did that here. And we're going to take a look really quick at some of the lyrics here. Like I said, read his books, listen to his words. You'll see it all adds up to this anyway, but it's the measure of a life is a measure of love and respect, so hard to earn, so easily burned. In the fullness of time, it's the only reward you can expect. It's tough for me sometimes to talk about this, just a little bit, but because I fucking love this guy, and like I said, I've read his books. He helped me out through a lot of my own stuff with loss for years. That book, Ghostwriter. And again, buy it and read it. Fucking download the pirated version of it and read it. Just read it. If you're ever dealing with loss and how to, like I said earlier, feel your place in the universe, whatever you want to call it, read the book. The dude knows what he's fucking talking about. Or just this song. I mean, yeah, it's just good stuff. You can listen to it a little bit more. And I want to play the solo a little bit because we've looked at other solos and stuff. But to me, if this was how the band was going to go out, they fucking nailed it. I don't love all of this album. I think Caravan's a good song. I think Brought to Believe is a pretty good song. I think Headlong Flight is a fucking killer song. Great. Headlong Flight is the... Hold on, how does this go? Let me listen to this for just a second. This is a pretty fun one to play on the bass, I'm pretty sure, if I remember the song correctly. Yeah. Very fun song to play. Headlong Fight's a great song. And another, when you're talking about... Because he was not sick at this point, and we haven't talked about the sickness and any of that yet, but Headlong Flight is, I just think of somebody who had gotten older looking back, and we can take a look at some of the lyrics of this too, and just trying to, leave a message behind. He says it, some days were dark, I wish I could live it all again, and some nights were bright, I wish I could live it all again. And he said, I've stoked the fires of the big steel wheels, I've steered an airship across the stars, I learned to fight, I learned to love, I learned to feel, oh how I wish that I could live it all again. That, for the bad and the worse, and the dude went through some pretty serious shit. We've talked about it, To look back on the bad times and still say, oh, how I wish I could live it all again. There's something incredibly profound, in my opinion, in that statement. I want to actually play just a little bit of this, because the chorus, it's a really, again, we talked about this is definitely the hard rock, progressive rock. They ended with this too, like we said, it started with Counterparts it stayed more of an evolving style of that same style of music all the way to the end. But the chorus is good of this song. Let's listen to this little bit.
All the journeys of this great adventure, is it always the other way? I wouldn't tread there.
But yeah,
Some guidance would know.
wish I could live it all again.
I wish that I could live it all again.
Lifeson is absolutely a god, and we're gonna play. I wanted to do it, wait till I could get it set up, but at some point, we're gonna do some covers and some recreations of those songs, and I really like to learn. I just need to get my electric plugged up so it doesn't. I wonder actually how it sounds just being across the room, because I just don't want to blow it out, and I don't have the cables to fully plug it in to a computer right now, but we're gonna get into it. But yeah, Headlong Flight is a great song. Pretty straightforward riffs. The Garden 2. So we've talked about now for 2 hours in the last stream, probably 2 hours in this stream at this point. What makes Alex Lifeson so fucking good at what he does? Lead dynamics. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Just now seeing the chat here. I wish I need to have it popped up here. I've been playing the guitar. For like 17, 18 years. A long time. I played the guitar, played the bass, played the piano a tiny bit, but Alex Lifeson's big inspiration for me. We played some of the songs on here, because I just have my acoustic, kind of cheapo acoustic guitar here. We played some of the songs, like, as we were talking about them earlier, like Closer to the Heart, you know. You have his Red Les Paul. Oh, man. That, is it the Access? That, or the AXEESS, that one? Because that guitar is fucking legit. I would love one of his... That guitar or his, he actually just put out, we're getting a little distracted, but who cares? He just put out a new guitar. Oh, it was this Epiphone, but it's not the Access. There's a new one, I swear, that was more built on, like, the PRS style of his, like, late 80s or mid-90s guitars. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It's not this, I don't think. Oh, actually, it maybe is this. Yeah. I always loved his ES55 too. These things are like fucking 10 grand piss take prices. Would definitely never be able to afford this thing. Yeah, $11,470. Fuck off. I mean, I would love to have it, but not that much. And I like Gibson well enough, but I'm definitely more of a smooth neck. Not smoother, but a little bit thinner neck by, Limelight. Yeah, that's the guitar. That's the guitar for that sound. I would also love to have whatever... I have fucking spent so much time in my life trying to get the tone that he had from the mid-1980s. Like, we pulled it up on the last stream, but I'm going to pull it up again. There's a great video on YouTube where they isolated all of his solos from Signals. And this tone, specifically the tone that he has, in the solo for the Analog Kid, I love it, and I might plug in my guitar and see if we can hear it from across the room without blowing it out, and see how close I can come to playing in this tone, because I've gotten close, but I use kind of cheap shit. I don't have the right, the right money for it, but listen to this. So that tone, all right, fuck it. We're going to plug in the electric, and see if it doesn't blow out the sounds here. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to step away here to the other side of the room. So he uses... Hold on a second here. Oh. He uses... I guess I have no clue what he was using in 1981 for signals, but some kind of chorus pedal. I guess I can just look it up, actually. We could do that in just a second here. Very tightly compressed. I think in these guitars he was using in the 80s, he was using, this was before PRS, he was using a split coil, I'm pretty sure. Let's get this guitar tuned up here. Hold on 1 second. Well, it's actually not too out of tune here. So. Okay. Oh, it's been a long time since I've played that. And then it ends on that hard. Whoa, my G string is way out of tune. That's what's fucking up here. Yeah, hopefully the sound is coming through okay and not too blown out. My amp is all the way on the other side of the room pretty much. What the fuck? What the fuck's going on here? Let's see. My guitar has not had the bar, the whammy bar, put into a while, and it really fucked my tuning. Hold on a second. I might have to get out the old... So I actually use these thick... I got a pack a long time ago. I guess not that long ago. Probably like 4 or 5 months ago. It was maybe a little bit longer than that. But anyway, these Taylor picks, and they come in all shapes and sizes, but they're all thick because I've been looking into buying a... Eventually, so what I have right now, what you're hearing, this is a PRS SE23 with 24 frets. Hold on 1 second. Tune this guitar really quick. But eventually, I would like to... I've been listening to a lot of music lately over the last year or two that is 7-string based, or 8-string based really, but 7 and 8 string. A lot of Arch Spire, Tech Death, that type of shit. That I would very much like to eventually get into one of those guitars. So I got some thicker strings for this one to kind of mimic that sound. And some thicker picks. Like this one I'm playing with right now is like it's got a weird kind of tinier shape. It's very sharp pointed. It is a 1.25 millimeter one, but some of the ones are like 1.5. Got a PRS Custom 24. Oh, that's probably not too far. Yeah, mine's the Sunburst orange one. I've had it for about... When did I get this guitar? God, like 4 or 5 years ago, 2019 probably. second here. We're close enough to good. Let's see if we can remember how to play this fucking solo. And then it goes. Whoa. Am I seriously? Fuck. Man, it's been a little bit too long since I've played this because I think after one dive, my G string just went straight out of tune. Yep. I gotta oil these strings. And my B string too went way out. Man, that kind of sucks. But yeah, the trem bar is a big old part. I was talking about it in the last part of this, that if you want to learn these songs, you definitely gotta have one. Alright, anyway, let's try this again here. And then it goes. And then it goes, Man, I might need to get new strings on this thing. I can't believe it. I mean, it's only been like 2 weeks since I last played on this thing. They're just going out of tune every fucking 2 seconds here. Alright, that's the last time I'm going to fuck with this. Then we're going to get back to finishing this up. But man, I fucking love that song. We were talking about that earlier. XYZ solo. I actually don't know if I know the solo to that song. I know the main, you know. I don't think I know the solo to that song, but it is pretty cool. And then they while the bass is doing its whole solo thing. But yeah, eventually I really want to do a deeper dive, especially if the sound is actually coming through this and not sounding like absolute shit. I'd like to do at some point a deeper dive on a lot of these songs, but and just what makes them so great. But to finish the tier part, I would say for me, Clockwork Angels. Oh wait, no. Let's listen to the solo on this. I don't know how to play this, but I'm sure it's pretty easy to figure out. But we were talking about earlier in the first video and a little bit into this one that, in my opinion, what makes Alex Lifeson so good at what he does is a combination of emotion, technicality, and speed. And the emotion part really, really comes out in this song. I'm going to listen to, not Headlong Flight, In the Garden. Whoops. So the lines, the lyrics right before this too, when we talk about messages that Neil is leaving off to the world or whatever, right? It says, the future disappears into memory with only a moment between. Forever dwells within that moment. Hope is what remains to be seen. Oh, good shit. All right, let's listen to this.
Remains to be seen.
Lighters in the air. Straight back into it. Too classic. I don't know. Can something that's only 12 years old be considered a classic yet? I'm not sure. But yeah, to me, I think it probably could have been done without being a concept album. I think that the songs stand out enough on their own that if you didn't know it was a concept album, you wouldn't have lost anything. Not there's anything wrong or right or whatever with that. To me, overall, it probably fits somewhere in this category here. So now, let's take a look back before we get into whatever we're going to do next with this Rush stream, and put these in the order that I actually think that they go into, like we said at the top, right? So from first all the way to the bottom, if I had to do it, I would go probably like this. Grace Under Pressure is number 1. Easy. Power Windows is close second. Like I said when I talked about these in the last part, these two could be tied for first for me. I love them both dearly. I'd probably put Hemispheres right behind that, and then Signals, and then Farewell to Kings, and then Moving Pictures. Then into the heavy rotation, songs that I still play or listen to frequently. I actually think I'd probably put this. I'd probably put it like this. I like we said, Hold Your Fire's got some cheese in it, but and the Fountain of Lamneth has a couple of nothing songs, but Caress of Steel has some nothing songs, but the Fountain of Lamneth is, for being their first 20-minute plus song, it is one of my favorites. And then again, Permanent Waves on heavy rotation because it sets up the band as we would see them. Oh, and actually, speaking of Permanent Waves, when we did earlier, I wonder if it's still like that. I was looking at Spotify. I was trying to show people this song, and for some reason, it just would not play. Let's see if it does it now, because I wanted to do Spirit of the Radio and talk about it, but I could not get it to play. And there it goes. That's so weird. But yeah, I was thinking, now that I have the electric guitar plugged in, the whole, Whoa. Just too fucking classic. I love that song. But tabs are tough tabs are an interesting one because they didn't do official tab books until way later. I mean, obviously they weren't putting out tab books in fucking 1980 or whatever, and a lot of them are wrong on the solo stuff. And if you try and watch videos of him doing it when they play live, some of that stuff changes song to song, which is a little rough. But yeah, I mean, what was I even looking at this for? Oh yeah, I think I probably actually come back to these songs more than Caress of Steel. Like, especially at the beginning of the first video, we started off with the whole, you know, classic Free Will. Let's see. But yeah, so then going from there to the great album, which we said more good songs than kind of throwaway songs. Vapor Trails is definitely there. Clockwork Angels is definitely there. I think I'd probably actually keep this order, although I'd maybe move... Presto definitely has a lot more songs than I like that I don't like. I think I'd probably keep this order. 2112 is obviously, we went in depth to it in the first album. Farewell to Kings is... I mean, there's a reason why it is where it is. I fucking... Just the whole, you know... What is it? How does the fucking... Oh my god. Oh, no. And that's the classic, like, high voice Geddy Lee at his best. I can't do that voice, but you know, when they turn the pages of history, when these days... Oh, I can do it. To pass long ago, will they read a voice with sadness for the seeds that we let grow? We turn our gaze to the castles. Oh my god. Something like that. Classic. Kiss, I have listened to a little bit. Not a huge fan. And just Gene Simmons is kind of like a gross dude, and so it's weird listening to his music. But I don't dislike him. When it comes to this sound, that early 70s rock sound, they definitely have it. Let's see. For decent, so I think this is good rating for that. Decent album. To me, like I said, was... There's more songs that I don't like than songs that I do like. But the songs that I do like, I really like. So in Counterparts, that was... I would actually keep this exactly how it is. Counterparts, then Roll the Bones, then Test for Echo, then Snakes and Arrows. And then the meh... Like I said, this is stuff that I either just don't listen to at all, don't really go back to, don't really play, although there's a couple songs from the first album that I will play the riffs to sometimes, just like we said, oh no, Anthem's on the second album, never mind. Well yeah, and then on the second album that I still play the riffs to, like Anthem, you know, the whole... Where does it go? Pretty simple stuff, but it's still fun to go back and like jam out to a little bit. But yeah, Snakes and Arrows, really, I like the song Far Cry, and that's about it. But yeah, the first two albums to me, like I said when we talked about this yesterday, the self-titled is, I would actually probably put this below this. The self-titled album with no Neil, the lyrics are throwaway. The song, it's Canadian Led Zeppelin, like they've said. We were talking about Kiss, like Gene Simmons said in the documentary. That's what it sounds like to me. There's a lot of people who love that hard rock, 70s classic rock sound. I don't really. I think it's fine, but I think that there are other bands that did it better than Rush did, and I don't think there are any other bands that did the progressive new wave, that type of later music. I don't think there's anybody who did it like they did. So the first two albums, and even the second one we talked about, Neil's first finding his footing, I don't really go back to it that much. It's still very much that style. And then, like we talked about earlier in this video, with the covers album, I mean, if you like those songs, like we said, the Buffalo Springfield song and all that other stuff, just listen to the original version. I promise, they're better. Every member in Rush is like a savant. I would definitely agree with that. But, yeah, hard work and dedication play into it a lot. And fucking practice 8, 10, 12 hours a day or whatever, especially when you're young and your fingers are nimble and you can bang out 8, 10 hours a day because you got nothing better to do. I mean, and being very... One of the things that Neil and Alex and Getty have all said it, but when you... Hold on. I'm looking at the levels here. I want to make sure this background fucking fuzz from my amp is not picking up too loud. It is now because I just unplugged it, but definitely want to try and maybe mute that out. But anyway, they were young enough when new things started happening, like new wave and reggae and that. They were young enough to be influenced enough by it, and also not too old to take influence from it. They listened to something that they liked, and they said, how can we put this into something like that fits with our music? And pretty much every time, there's a couple we talked about yesterday and today, like Roll the Bones and whatever, and Tyshawn, whatever, that it doesn't work. That the mash of those two things just does not fit. But for every one of those songs, there's 20 others that do. There's 30 others that do, It's, we started all this, or I started this project, I guess. Not project, I mean, doing this stream and making this stuff to celebrate 50 years. We said at the top of the last episode, the first album came out March 1974, 50 years ago. And looking back on it, I mean, even just something in a 4-hour review with a tier list and some fucking background music is not nearly enough to do it justice. There's a lot there. 19 albums. I don't know, actually, we can just look it up. What is the total number of Rush songs? How many songs there are? I'm going to say 120, 130, 167 songs. So, if you like hard rock, there's something for you. If you like classic rock, there's something for you. If you like new wave music, there's something for you. If you like more abstract art pop, art rock, there's something for you. If you like alternative 90s, there's something for you. If you like what kind of prog alt rock became after that, there's something for you. If you like good lyrics, great bass playing, guitar playing, there's something for you. There's just something to be found there. And there's few artists, in my opinion, who have such a big and diverse body of work that you can say that about. That kind of, I mean, obviously there's plenty of stuff that, if you're looking for extreme electro music or country western classics, you're not going to find it here. But for as much as you can find, it really is kind of amazing. And yeah, that's Rush. That's 50 years. 50 years of music. Turn this down a little bit. Background static is starting to get to me now. 50 years of a career. 3 dudes, I guess 4 dudes, count John Rutsey in the beginning. 4 dudes getting together, playing music that they loved. Can't really say anything bad about it, Yeah, that's about with me. I'm a pretty similar age, and yeah, I got into them. I think I said, maybe in this video, maybe it was in the last one, but I first really started getting into them around 2000, probably 9 or 10. I had obviously heard, everybody knows the Tom Sawyers and the Closer to the Heart or whatever, but I really got deep into them after that, and deep dive around then. My buddy, who was my roommate at the time, was very much into them as well, and it was the only time I saw them live was 2011 or 12. It was before Clockwork Angels. It was on the I think it was on the 30-year anniversary of Moving Pictures, because I played the whole album, and it would have been 81, yeah, 2011, and then the next year is when Clockwork Angels came out. But yeah, it's just all, I mean, it's been a huge impact on me as a musician. I wouldn't say I started playing because of Rush, because that's not true. I played guitar before I really knew too much about them, but the style that I have has very much developed because of them. We played in the last video some of my own songs and how I showed specifically how I took riffs and stuff and things like that and how they were inspirations and all that. And yeah, that's what really they've given to me. And Neil Peart and his writing talked about it, enough, but it gave me a lot. I think it's given a lot of people a lot. And the dude, I guess for those people who aren't familiar with the band, I didn't really finish the story, I suppose. We kind of am telling that like a chronology. So he left when we said, they got to a point, and I was curious if it was when they were making Clockwork Angels, if he knew then. But he came to a point shortly after when they were going to tour again in 2014 to celebrate the 40th anniversary that he was just done. Like I said, he was tired, he had tendinitis really bad, and he had a new wife and a new daughter, and he wanted to make up the lost time that he had lost with Jackie and, I can't believe I forgot his daughter's name. Oh my god. I think I even said it earlier, the last time I did this. But anyway, Selena, he wanted to move on, and he was absolutely owed that right. So they retired. They did a world tour, or I don't think they did a world tour. They just did a local tour because he was not into traveling internationally at that point. And they did the U.S. and Canada. Their last show was in Los Angeles at the Forum, I want to say summer of 2015. Let's see. Yeah, August 2015. So about 8 years ago. They were done. They talked a little bit about how they said in public at the time that they'd be open to maybe making music later. In private, Neil had no desire to do that. He was done. And I don't think he even really ever played drums again. He moved to, like I said, he was already living in California. He had a wife. He had a child who was like 5 or 6 probably at this time. And he just wanted to be a dad. Unfortunately, he didn't get to make up for a whole lot of that lost time. In 2017, so I guess just 2 years later, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor. He told pretty much no one about it, except for Alex Getty, obviously his wife, and a few of their close friends. He held on through it for almost 3 years, and one of the best things about Geddy Lee's book, My F***ing Life, which really, like, if you pay for a Spotify Premium, which honestly, if you're a big music fan, you probably should. It's definitely worth it. I'm pretty sure the entire audiobook is, it's all on here. Listen to it. It's good shit. It just came out a few months ago. It came out in November of last year. But he talks about in this... Oh, do I have any Rush shirts? I did not have any shirts. Oh, actually, that's not true. I think I have one, but it wasn't from the tour. I don't think I bought anything when we went out there because I was pretty goddamn broke in those days. And just going out to, without, I guess, doxing myself, where I live is a place where most concerts, big concerts that happen on the, at least a 4-hour drive from me. And so just getting there and doing the whole thing was the money that I had. I don't know if Alex Lifeson has written a book. Did Alex Lifeson write any books? I don't think he has. I'm pretty sure I would have known about it. Let's see. Has Alex Lifeson written a book? He talks about it a little bit in the Geddy Lee story about how he probably wouldn't write it because he didn't see himself as that type of writer. But yeah, I don't think he's written anything. But this My F***ing Life just came out. And the audiobook, if you listen on Spotify, is narrated by Geddy Lee. So it's his story from his voice. It's very interesting. It talks... The only thing, and this isn't really a problem with it, because it's not a problem, he talks a lot about, the first half of the book is kind of the pre-Rush stuff, and he goes a lot into his family history, about his parents surviving the Holocaust, going back to Auschwitz as an adult. There's a lot of stuff about his family in here, and it's really good stuff. There's just a lot. I mean, you learn a lot by listening to this book. You learn a lot that they were on a lot more drugs than they seemed like, which is pretty fascinating because they kind of kept that part. I don't think anybody thought they were squeaky clean dudes. The weed is a known thing. Like, Alex Lifeson especially still probably smokes multiple joints a day to this day, now fucking 71 years old. That's his thing. But, yeah, that's what I was getting to, is actually he talks a lot about Neil at the end of his life and what those last couple years were like. And he talks about how he had these conversations. I definitely can't get away with playing that on this stream because you have to pay for Spotify to even have this book. But I was going to say we just listen to when he talks about it, but I would definitely get banned for that one. He talks about how Neil he had his, like, I don't know, like a man cave kind of set up with all of his favorite things across town from where he lived. And he would have somebody, like a chauffeur friend guy that they had, drive him. And it was like an hour or two drive each way every day when he would go out there. And when he was going out there, the last year or so of his life, he wanted to get a sense of... I don't want to misquote it because I listened to it when it first came out, so it's been like 6 months since I've listened to this, but essentially he wanted to get perspective. And so perspective on his work. And so he listened to everything they did. On these car rides, he would just listen to all their old albums from front to back. Hearing what Geddy had to say about that is interesting. I think Neil's opinion on their music falls a lot more with mine, in that he thought their mid-'80s stuff was probably their best stuff too. But he liked a lot. He had his own notes. But I don't know if he ever knew, because he was such a shy, kind of reserved guy. I don't know if I would say he was shy. He just didn't like... We've talked about this bunch in this video already, but he didn't like the adulation or whatever. But I don't know if he ever really knew the impact, the true impact that he had, not just on the, millions or whatever of fans and this and that, but on just the people in his immediate life. He always wanted to be this unassuming, he said it, he just wanted to be a guy. He just wanted to live out there and be a guy, be an anonymous guy. And I don't know if he ever knew. And the one part that really sucked about the way that he died, and I think Geddy kind of cries a little bit when he talks about it, and it's sad, is brain cancer is fucking ruthless, dude. You forget. For somebody whose mind was so sharp, who had so many lines in verse and in poetry and in the written form that changed my life, changed a lot of people's lives, I'm sure, to lose that part of himself, forget things, forget who people are, be in constant, just to lose the mind, fucking sucks. He didn't deserve it. I mean, nobody deserves to get brain cancer, but anyway, he died January 15th, January 20th, let's look at this here, of 2020. I don't know the exact day. January 7th of 2020. He was 67 years old, which is nuts. Nobody knew like I said, nobody knew he was sick. Nobody really knew outside of nobody in the media who wasn't, and even a lot of people who were close to the band did not know. Obviously, he's in even being gone completely is better than suffering in pain and losing your memory and your sense of self. So no matter religious or not, no matter how well you want to look at it, the dude is in a better place now, even if that place is just not existing anymore. But he will be very much missed, and he's definitely more known for his drumming than for his writing, which I think he's an amazing drummer, but his writing, for as much as we, talk shit about some of the dumber stuff, the good stuff is about as good as it gets from anybody. I mean, there's no comparison that I know. I mean, among some of the stuff that's his best. But, yeah, that's the Rush tier list. That's kind of our thing. I think it'd be nice to hang out a little bit, play a couple more songs, kind of go back and look through our track list now that I have the old electric plugged in. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it was a big task. How long have we been going for? Hour and 45 minutes. I guess I got a little distracted in this one, playing some guitar here and there, but the last one was 2 hours and 15 minutes, so it took us roughly 4 hours to fucking make a tier list of my favorite albums by Rush. And I think it came out pretty well. I've never actually really sat down and done something like this with this, because, you know, it's so subjective, and there's so much of it that you have to really think, well, do I like this more than this, and do I like that more than that? What are the merits of this, that, and the other? But I'm glad I got the chance to do it. It was very fun. And I think, yes, please get into Rushmore, especially if you want my recommendations, like I said, or if, I mean, in the top notch. If you have even a passive interest in the style of music that is what I termed as progressive new wave rock, like Grace Under Pressure and Power Windows are definitely the place to start. I mean, Distant Early Warning, the bass in that song is so classic. We've talked about this before, but that's another one. You know, I guess that's transposed to guitar. But even the guitar on that song, which is pretty straightforward, just like a couple chords to start with, the way that he plays them is very much of that same, you know, that 80s style. We talked about staccato, you know. What is the chord? You know, just kind of classic stuff, or like After Image, especially if you're looking for the more when Lifeson is in his sort of shredder mode, getting into it. You're getting into it here. Like, I love just little riffs, little lines, like in this song, the chorus, this part here coming up. I mean, just a few notes, but can make such a powerful, you know. Raw. Simple stuff, but all good stuff. And then, let's see. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, and I actually want to play it again because fuck it, why not? It's my video. Let's listen to this solo on this gnarly song, Between the Wheels. Yeah, I mean, you just can't beat it. But yeah, I mean, Grace Under Pressure and Power Windows are definitely, if you like that sound, like the pinch harmonics, the crazy dive bar stuff, the super fast, like, that's where he does it the most, are in these two albums, and definitely a little bit into Hold Your Fire as well. Like Middletown Dreams, I wonder if I could get away with playing this whole song if I play along to it and treat it like almost like I'm playing a cover, because I can do the whole thing, I suppose. Let's because this is probably one of my favorites. A little bit more chill song, but the atmosphere is so great, and the guitar solo and the bass are both so good. But we're gonna listen to it. Fuck it. You can't really hear it too much because it's kind of buried in the mix, but you get that bass, you know. And then Alex Lifeson comes in with a little tiny little set of notes that I always play with the harmonic at the end. Love it. My version's a little bit, you know. What? But yeah, just too classic. Turn your amp up a bit, yes. Let's see. Does that sound a little better, hopefully? Oh, actually, if I stand up, the feedback really goes away when I'm not playing, which is great. But yeah, the solo in this song, too, is pretty classic. And the bass solo at the end, I do not know, but I can play, let's see. Let's see if we can play along. Just too good. It goes. Whoa. And then. And then. And then. Oh man, I forgot the last one. Something like that. Yeah, the floating trem, I am glad. So this guitar does not have the full floater. It only goes down. It's not completely locked, which is great because tuning those fucking sucks. But the only bad thing about this guitar, and I don't know if it's a PRS thing or if it's just with this model, is that the trem bar is not hooked to anything. It just literally, probably hear it there, slides in, slides out. So if you like tilt, lean over, it's out, it's on the floor. If you go back too far, tilt back, it's out, it's on the floor. Bad design. I don't know who came up with that, but whatever. It works. It does its job, you know. I don't know, that kind of sucked, but that tone, that's that Alex Lifeson, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, just heavy distortion, pretty much only on the treble. There's not a lot of bass to it. It's kind of not supposed to sound compressed as much as it is just cutting through. But Silver Sky, is that the bridge on these guitars? Is that what this model is called? I actually don't know that one. pretty funny how some of those riffs on their later work, they still hit just as hard, but pretty straightforward. Like that driven is a very, just... Easy to play. I guess it sounds pretty cool, though, so who cares? But... Or like, compared to like Xanadu, the bass and the guitar, Whoa. I'm fucking this up so bad. What's going on here? Whoa. Well, and then it goes. But yeah, Xanadu is pretty classic. I don't know, man. I could just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about all these riffs. And let's play some. I want to do a little bit of acoustic stuff because it sounds so shit on this cheap acoustic guitar that I have. I'm gonna switch this up a little bit. Fast fret oil, that's a good idea. Yeah, I need to... This guitar definitely needs to be oiled. These strings, I will say, for the temperature changes we've had here, actually have held up pretty well for not being touched too much in the last couple of months. But, let's do some... What? Too classic, that song. Well, there we go. Ooh, let's not pick up quite so well. welcome. Thank you for stopping by. That's the Fountain of Lamneth, which is also, that song did not get added to our top notch. That's in our heavy rotation down here. Old Caress of Steel. Good, good, good stuff. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Please check out the audiobook, listen to the albums, listen to the music. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. We'll play a little bit more, and then we'll wrap it up here. We've done our tier list, and we have yet to do the other stuff, which I need to prepare for. Our deep dive on Alex, our deep dive on Getty, our deep dive on Neil. Man, now that we're plugged in, let's go back and talk about a couple of these. I'm just going to leave you with a few riffs, and then we'll call it here. And I might end up actually editing this bit out of the VOD, but we'll see. Good, good, good stuff. Let's do a little bit more. Let's do... Hold on. Let's do a little track listing here. What can we get into? I know we can play. Let's get into some... We'll leave off on this, actually. May as well. Little combo guitar bass. Whoops. Where does it go? All right. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two about the amazing band that is Rush. We had a couple distractions, a couple interactions, some songs played probably rather poorly on an amplifier on the other side of the room, but we made it fucking work, just like Alex, Getty, and Neil made it work for damn near 40 years. Last shot at the tier, final tier,
Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, Hemispheres, Signals, Farewell to Kings, and Moving Pictures in the top-notch Hold Your Fire, Permanent Waves and Caress of Steel in the heavy rotation, Vapor Trails, Clockwork Angels, 2112 and Presto in the great album section, Counterparts, Roll the Bones, Test for Echo, and Snakes and Arrows in the decent album, and finally Fly By Night, the self-titled, and their cover album feedback in the meh. Thank you again. Hopefully your list is different than mine. I'd like to see it. Have a good day, everybody.